Some beans feed the world, some beans make chocolate, and some beans can kill you in 36 hours flat, with less than a pinpoint's worth of poison. Beans are not boring. In fact, they're way more interesting than you can ever imagine. Castor bean. The castor bean grows on an ornamental plant found on every continent except Antarctica. And it's the source of castor oil, the ingredient in laxatives and industrial lubricants. But the waste left over from pressing that oil contains ricin, one of the most lethal substances known to science. A dose smaller than a grain of salt can kill an adult within 2 days if inhaled, injected, or swallowed, and there's no antidote. The only thing standing between you and disaster is the bean's tough outer coat, which usually lets it pass through the body untouched if swallowed whole. Chew it though, and that's a different story. Ricin has been used as an actual assassination weapon, most famously against a Bulgarian dissident who was shot with a ricin pellet fired from a modified umbrella on a London street in 1978. He was dead within 4 days. Cocoa bean. Before chocolate was a candy bar, it was money. The Aztecs and Maya used cocoa beans as literal currency, exchanging them for turkey eggs, taxes, and, according to Spanish accounts, even slaves. A rabbit reportedly cost about 10 beans. Emperor Montezuma II was said to be so devoted to chocolate that he drank it by the gallon and stockpiled beans for his military. And the whole thing was so valuable that the Spanish coined the phrase, "money doesn't grow on trees," after watching how the Aztecs treated their cacao groves. The beans themselves grow inside pods that sprout directly from the trunk of the cacao tree, not the branches. And each pod holds dozens of seeds that get fermented, dried, and roasted into what eventually becomes chocolate. Christopher Columbus was actually handed cocoa beans as a gift in 1502 and had no idea what he was looking at, mistaking them for shriveled almonds. Kidney bean. Kidney beans sit in chili and salads all over the world, which makes it easy to forget that raw ones are genuinely dangerous. They contain a natural toxin called phytohemagglutinin, and red kidney beans carry more of it than almost any other legume, roughly 3 times what's found in white beans. Just 4 or 5 raw beans can trigger violent vomiting and diarrhea within a couple of hours. And there have been documented cases of children going into shock from undercooked ones, sometimes from slow cookers that never got hot enough to break the toxin down. The fix is simple. Soak them for several hours and boil them vigorously for at least 10 minutes, since a slow simmer alone can actually leave the toxin more concentrated. Cook them properly though, and they're one of the safest, most nutrient-dense foods around. Fava bean. Fava beans have been dividing people since ancient Greece, where the philosopher Pythagoras reportedly banned his followers from eating them entirely. It turns out he may have been onto something. A significant portion of the global population, especially those with Mediterranean, African, or Middle Eastern ancestry, carries a genetic condition called G6PD deficiency. And for them, eating fava beans can trigger a sudden, dangerous breakdown of red blood cells known as favism. Symptoms can hit within hours and include jaundice, dark urine, extreme fatigue, and in severe cases, kidney damage requiring emergency care. It affects an estimated hundreds of millions of people worldwide, many of whom have no idea they're carriers until the day they eat the wrong bowl of soup. For everyone else, fava beans are simply a rich, slightly bitter protein source that is used in dishes across Egypt and Italy. Black-eyed pea. In the American South, eating black-eyed peas on New Year's Day is supposed to bring good fortune, and the tradition carries real weight. The beans were brought to North America by enslaved Africans, who had long regarded them as a good luck charm in West Africa. One popular story credits their lucky status to the Civil War, when Union troops considered them cattle feed and left them behind while stripping farms of everything else. This allowed Southern communities to survive the winter on their own. The classic New Year's dish, Hoppin' John, pairs the peas with rice and pork, and tradition says the peas represent coins, while collard greens on the side stand in for paper money. Some say you need to eat exactly 365 beans, one for every day of the year, to get the full effect. Chickpea. The chickpea might be the most quietly ancient food you eat on a regular basis. Archaeological evidence puts chickpea cultivation in the Middle East at somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 BCE, meaning humans were farming chickpeas before they figured out how to make pottery to store them in. They show up in the Bible, in Homer's Iliad, and in ancient Greek desserts, where roasted chickpeas were served alongside nuts and figs. Today there are two main types: the large, pale Kabuli chickpea most people recognize from hummus and salads, and the smaller, darker Desi chickpea, common across South Asian cooking. Chickpeas also have a neat trick up their sleeve agriculturally, since their roots can pull nitrogen from the air and feed it into the soil, which is part of why farmers still love rotating them into fields thousands of years later. Soybean. The soybean is arguably the most economically dominant bean on the planet. It is used in everything from tofu and soy sauce to cooking oil, animal feed, biodiesel, and printer ink. It's also nutritionally unusual among plant foods because it's a complete protein containing all 9 essential amino acids the human body can't make on its own. This is a big reason it's the backbone of so many meat alternatives. Pull soybeans while they're still young and green, and you get edamame, which is the exact same plant harvested at a different stage of life, not a separate species. China first domesticated soybeans thousands of years ago, but the United States now grows more of them than any other country on Earth, exporting massive quantities to feed livestock across the globe. Lentil. Lentils get lumped in with beans constantly, but they're technically their own thing. They're small, lens-shaped legumes that cook far faster than most beans because they have no need for the long soaking and boiling that thicker-skinned beans require. That speed made them a staple survival food for thousands of years across the Middle East, India, and the Mediterranean. Today, they remain one of the cheapest, most efficient sources of plant protein and iron available anywhere. India alone grows and eats an enormous share of the world's lentil supply, working them into dal, a dish so central to the country's cuisine that it's practically a category of food on its own rather than a single recipe. Unlike most legumes, lentils don't need to be pre-soaked at all before cooking, which is part of why they've stayed a pantry staple for so long. Mung beans pull off a party trick most beans can't. Leave them wet in a dark jar for a few days, and they'll sprout into the crunchy bean sprouts found in stir-fries and spring rolls across Asian cuisine, no soil required. Small, olive green, and easy to digest, mung beans have been cultivated in India for thousands of years and remain a dietary staple across South and Southeast Asia. They're boiled into soups, ground into flour for noodles, or sweetened into desserts like Vietnamese chai. They're also unusually fast-growing and nitrogen-fixing, which makes them a favorite cover crop for farmers looking to restore soil between plantings of hungrier crops. Few beans manage to be a pantry staple, a garnish, and a farming tool all at once. Lima bean. Lima beans get bullied at the dinner table, but raw ones deserve genuine caution. They contain linamarin, a compound that turns into hydrogen cyanide the moment the bean's cells get damaged, whether that's from chewing or crushing. Wild lima beans in places like Costa Rica, Mexico, and Nigeria can carry cyanide levels 15 to 20 times higher than what's allowed in commercial U.S. beans, which are capped by regulation at under 200 milligrams per kilogram. Boiling for even 5 to 10 minutes destroys the enzyme responsible, so the mushy, buttery lima beans on your plate are perfectly safe. Almost nobody eats them raw anyway, since uncooked lima beans are hard, bitter, and about as appetizing as a rock. Fun fact for dog owners: canines seem to tolerate the raw version far better than humans do, for reasons nobody's fully explained. Pinto bean. If beans had a popularity contest in the United States, pinto would win by a mile. Americans eat roughly 3 times as much pinto as any other dried bean. It is the backbone of refried beans, chili, and burritos across the Southwest and Mexico. The name comes from the Spanish word for painted, a nod to its speckled tan and red skin, which is a little ironic since those speckles vanish completely the moment the bean is cooked, turning into a uniform pinkish brown. Pinto beans have been farmed in Mesoamerica for roughly 7,000 to 8,000 years, making them nearly as old as agriculture itself in the region. And they're still the official state vegetable of New Mexico. There's even a town, Dove Creek, Colorado, that calls itself the pinto bean capital of the world. Tonka bean. Somewhere between a raisin and a shriveled almond sits one of the most quietly outlawed ingredients in America. Tonka beans, grown on a South American tree, carry an intoxicating aroma somewhere between vanilla, cherry, and warm almond. But the FDA banned them outright back in 1954 over a natural compound called coumarin, which can cause liver damage in large enough doses. The catch is that coumarin is also present in totally legal foods like cinnamon, lavender, and strawberries, and a person would need to eat around 30 whole tonka beans in one sitting to feel any real effects, an amount nobody's realistically consuming since a single bean can flavor dozens of dishes. That hasn't stopped high-end chefs from using it anyway. Grant A Chicago restaurant Alinea was actually raided by the FDA in 2006 after he mentioned using tonka beans in an interview. And the bean still shows up, quietly grated over desserts, in kitchens across the country.